Next up,
Reacher.
Reacher. Oh yeah.
I mean,
This episode's quite old in my head because I watched it last Friday, so you might have to fill in some gaps for me. But it was another great episode.
I know it was exactly what we had been saying last week of there's only so many times Reacher can walk away from being the only man alive. But like, we were like, something's gonna catch on eventually. And
I
literally this
literally
one,
said this to Jenna I was like, me and Horry were saying on the podcast, there's only so many times he can get away with going into a room and being the only one who comes out alive. And then he said that, I'm like, fuck, these writers know what they're doing.
yeah, it was that moment of like, he stops her killing him and he's like, no, I can't be the only person to survive this again. It's gonna start. It's like, okay, we should have known this man is smart enough to understand that. We shouldn't have doubted our man Reacher.
But you know what I like most about that as a viewer? That's a completely that's a normal kind of criticism tag. It's like, okay, but someone would get suspicious that he's the only one surviving, and then the show goes, yes, you're right, they would, and he knows that.
Yeah, and he's making sure that doesn't happen. We were also right that the young lad was going to get played by the captive. I'm so glad he instantly got what he deserved, though, because that was brutal what he did to the young lad.
Yeah, it was. It's when he did it the first time. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna leave him unconscious, and then he just kept stamping. I'm like, oh my god.
But then it's like in that moment, I'm like, this guy works for the guy Reacher's hates. Of course, he's got no like moral like he is one of those. I knew straight away, like when he was like, okay, fine, to get, he was going to get the lighter, and you saw him put that stuff in his. I was like, he's gonna spray that in his face. It's gonna obviously then ignite, and that's gonna be the get out. The fact the Reacher flipping the car casually.
So funny.
Man's a fucking machine. And then
he is.
The older guy being like faked knocked out, and then he opens his eyes and the guy's like, wait, what? And then gets shot in the head. Was such a good karma moment for him.
I also love the way they did she cut the power to make it work.
Yes.
And then Reacher just like started gaslighting everyone. He's like, well, who's guarding the gate then, dumbass? He's like, oh, you need to all go in your room, otherwise you might die.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely pushed his luck. I think he got away with it, but you could tell even like the dad, the guy that's like in charge, even he was like, my son's listened to Reacher instead of me. Like this, you could tell that rubbed him the wrong way a little bit. And then Reacher just like drives off because he's like, oh, well, I'm going to go wait at the end of the road and make sure that no one turns up. And then I'm like, okay. Meanwhile, they shake down the entire house. Once again, this episode has me stressed.
How did they not find the badge, man?
So, in my head, the theory, because like we're shown the badge silhouette because he's like flashlights going around. In my head is, as he's searching that room, they probably found.
Someone finds, yeah.
And then that like acts as a distraction of like, oh, we found the problem.
Well, no one ever thinks about the second mole.
Yeah.
Once they get the first mole, they assume they've got all the moles. So it will be a case of, yeah, if he's in the middle of tossing the room, they go, we've got him. He's not going to go, oh, I should keep checking in case he's a mole too. He'll be like, oh, there we go, we've got the mole, because there is only ever one mole.
I mean, even me as a viewer, I never actually considered that someone else in there might be another mole, because we know the girl got sent in there and has disappeared, and we know Reacher is the mole. So like, oh, that's already been two, technically. Like, weren't expecting a third from like I forget what the department is that deals with
ATF,
weapons.
was it?
ATF, yeah. So yeah, I love the whole thing of like, fucking hell, it's like let alphabet soup in there or whatever.
But they built the tension for that reveal so well as well. The last thing we'd seen inside the house was the flashlight and the silhouette of the badge. Yep. So we're like, oh my god, it's only a matter of time. Then he comes back and everyone's been really serious, like, we found the mole. And you got Reacher being much calmer than I would have been. He's like, okay, they've not given any indication they know it's you. Do not accidentally blow your own cover in case it is intact. He put himself in a position to give himself a chance, but stayed as calm as he possibly could.
He definitely lost a bit of that cool when he found out who'd been killed.
But he also did a very good job playing that off as a case of he was angry because his head of security didn't get to interrogate them.
Yeah, and
He
thankfully
did a very good job redirecting it.
The other guy, who's the one that cleans up the messes,
The
always
mouthy
was
little
like,
shit.
that's what I said as well. But then the first, like, we've had the thing in the little scuffle in the gym where he got the one up on
Paulie.
I loved that we got to see Reacher essentially lose for like the first time. Of like, he goes for the gut punch and it did nothing. And then Paulie essentially just bitch slapped him.
Yeah, he literally went, sit the fuck down. Yeah.
The look on Reacher's face of like, this is the first time probably since I was a child that someone's got the better of me in a fight. And like, I forgot what this feels like and I don't know how to react.
Like, realistically, what percentage of humans would either be taller than or physically stronger than Reacher and also
Less
have
than
any
1%.
kind of combat training? Like, the chances that he's met anyone who physically has the ability to intimidate him even a little bit are astronomically low.
Yeah, I liked that he kind of later explained the thing that threw him off was like, I didn't expect him to move so fast for his size, which showed that even Reach was like, yeah, I know he's bigger than me, but like, usually big guys are slow. They might hit hard, but I'm quicker. He wasn't expecting him to be like, oh, he's bigger than me, he's stronger than me, and he's as fast as me. That's not a good, like, trifecta of qualities to go against. I did then enjoy him shutting up the mouthy one by just sucker punching him in the gut, and instantly he throws up. And he's like, oh, you do have an off button.
It's really funny with characters, like dialogue. Very rarely do I like want a character to shut up. They did a really good job of writing that dialogue twice and being like, oh my god, will this guy shut the fuck up? As Reacher hits him, I'm like, oh my god. I was like, the third time in this episode they answered my question as I was saying it to myself. I'm like, okay, cool. You nailed your pacing here. You knew exactly what the viewer would be feeling.
Yeah, they're doing such a good job of like, we think we're like, oh, we're figuring this out, we're a step ahead, and then they go, no, we already know you're thinking that. Hello, we wrote this show. Also, now things we said as well last week that got answered in the show have been like, well, if he does end up meeting Quincy, does he know him? Has he forgotten? And Reach was also like, he might have forgotten me, but I'm not going to bet my whole life on the hope that he's forgot me. And they're obviously off to meet the boss. He doesn't know what's coming, if he's about to get revealed or not. So now we've got that
once
tension.
again, the question we were asking last week is literally the pondering moment of the end of this episode of, is he going to remember him? Which just, like I said, everything we loved about Reacher season 1 and 2 has remained in this season, been improved upon in this season, and anything that was missing from their first 2 seasons, they've added. I think it is absolutely the best season of the show yet, and I cannot wait to see where the last 2-3 episodes go.
I think there might be 2.
But yeah, absolutely phenomenal show. I've been loving it. I know you have.
Yeah.
It once again, my only complaint: it's too short. It's going to be gone too soon, and then we're going to have to wait a year and a half till we get another one or whatever.
This is the other thing. It's like, we're obviously already getting closer to the end of this story now, and I'm like, when's Neagley showing up? Surely she shows up at some point. We're gonna have a big fight before we know it. I'm like, but I want.
Yeah, you got to remember that's an entire episode gunfight at the end, which
that won't even be the last episode. It'll be like the second to last, and then the last one will be like the wrap up. So yeah, he also at some point he's clearly gonna hook up with the FBI woman at some point.
I mean, it's got to happen, right?
He's done it in every season so far. So, but yeah, this show's been great, and I can't wait for the wrap up of where this story's going.